The gym smelled of iron and sweat, a pulse of life thrumming through the air like a heartbeat. Ezra stood frozen, barbell in hand, as the stranger's voice cut through the noise. "Hey, can you spot me?" 3 words. Simple, but they landed like a spark on dry tinder, igniting something in Ezra he wasn't ready to name. He turned, meeting the eyes of a man who stood a head taller, his warm brown skin catching the gym's fluorescent glow. "Sure," Ezra managed, his voice rougher than he intended. He set the barbell down, wiping his palms on his shorts, and followed the stranger Malik. He'd soon learn the bench press. Seattle's downtown gym was alive with the evening crowd, runners pounding treadmills, lifters grunting under heavy loads, mirrors reflecting a kaleidoscope of bodies and ambitions. Yet, in that moment, the world narrowed to the 2 of them. Malik lay back on the bench, his broad shoulders settling into the vinyl. Ezra positioned himself at the head, hands hovering beneath the bar, ready to catch it if Malik faltered. The weight wasn't heavy, 135 pounds. A warm-up, but the air between them felt charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. Malik's gaze flicked up, meeting Ezra's, and for a heartbeat, neither moved. Then Malik pushed the bar up, muscles flexing, and Ezra's pulse stuttered. "You good?" Ezra asked, his voice low, trying to mask the tremor in his chest. "Yeah," Malik replied, his tone warm, almost teasing. "Just don't let me die under this thing." Ezra laughed, a sound that surprised him. He hadn't laughed like that in months, not since his last relationship crumbled under the weight of unspoken truths. He was 24, a graphic designer scraping by in a city that demanded too much, his heart a guarded fortress after years of hiding who he was. Growing up in a small Idaho town, he'd learned to keep his feelings locked away, especially feelings like the ones stirring now, unbidden, as Malik's arms strained and his breath came in steady, controlled bursts. The set ended, and Malik sat up, wiping sweat from his brow. "Thanks, man. I'm Malik." He extended a hand, and Ezra took it, their palms meeting in a grip that lingered a fraction too long. "Ezra," he said, pulling back, his fingers tingling. "No problem." They traded small talk where they were from, what brought them to Seattle. Malik was a nurse, new to the city, working night shifts at Harborview Medical Center. His laugh was easy, his eyes bright with a kindness that made Ezra's defenses waver. But there was something else in Malik's gaze, a question unspoken, a curiosity that mirrored Ezra's own. "Want to go again?" Malik asked, nodding at the bench. "I'll spot you this time." Ezra hesitated. He wasn't weak, but he wasn't built like Malik, whose frame spoke of years of discipline. Still, something in Malik's tone, playful, inviting, made him nod. He lay back, the bar cold against his palms, and Malik stepped close, his presence a quiet anchor. As Ezra pushed the weight up, Malik's hands hovered just inches away, steady, reassuring. Their eyes met again, and Ezra's heart betrayed him, thudding loud enough he swore Malik could hear it. The gym faded. The clank of weights, the hum of conversation, all of it dissolved. There was only Malik, leaning in just close enough for Ezra to catch the faint scent of cedar and sweat, close enough for his warmth to feel like a promise. Ezra finished the set, breathless not from the lift, but from the weight of that moment, the unspoken pull between them. "You're stronger than you look," Malik said, a grin tugging at his lips. Ezra sat up, cheeks burning. "You're not so bad yourself." They traded sets for an hour, banter flowing easily, each laugh and glance building a bridge between them. But Ezra felt the old fear creeping in, the fear of wanting too much, of being seen too clearly. He'd spent years dodging questions about his dating life, crafting half-truths for coworkers and family. Malik, with his open smile and steady gaze, felt like a risk Ezra wasn't sure he could take. As they racked the weights, Malik tilted his head. "You come here often?" "Most days," Ezra said, trying to sound casual. "You?" "First time. Moved here last week. Figured I'd check this place out." Malik paused, then added, "Glad I did." Ezra's throat tightened. He wanted to say something bold, something real, but the word stuck. Instead, he nodded. "Yeah. Me too." They parted with a promise to meet again same time, same place, tomorrow. Ezra walked home through Seattle's rain-slicked streets, the city's lights blurring in his vision. His heart was a traitor, whispering possibilities he'd spent years trying to silence. Malik was just a guy, he told himself. Just a spotter. But as he replayed the warmth of Malik's hand, the spark in his eyes, Ezra knew he was lying to himself. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. The gym was quieter the next evening, the after-work rush thinning out. Ezra arrived early, his stomach knotted with anticipation. He'd spent the day distracted, sketching half-finished designs at his desk, Malik's face flickering in his mind like a song he couldn't shake. He spotted Malik by the squat racks, his navy tank clinging to his frame as he stretched. The sight sent a jolt through Ezra, sharp and unwelcome. He wasn't ready for this, whatever this was. But when Malik turned and grinned, waving him over, Ezra's feet moved before his brain could protest. "Thought you might bail," Malik said, his voice light but his eyes searching. "Nah," Ezra replied, forcing a smirk. "Gotta keep up with you. Right." They fell into an easy rhythm, spotting each other through squats and deadlifts. Their banter sharper now, edged with familiarity. Malik teased Ezra about his form. Ezra fired back about Malik's obsession with perfect reps. Each laugh felt like a step closer to something dangerous, something Ezra both craved and feared. Between sets, Malik leaned against the rack, catching his breath. "You ever think about why we do this?" he asked, gesturing at the gym. "All this grinding, pushing ourselves to the limit." Ezra shrugged, wiping sweat from his brow. "To get stronger, I guess." Malik's eyes softened. "Maybe. Or maybe it's about proving something. To ourselves. To someone else." The words landed heavy, stirring something in Ezra he didn't want to examine. He thought of his father's voice, sharp and disappointed, when Ezra came out at 17. "You're confused, son. Fix it." He'd spent years proving he wasn't broken, building walls around his heart to keep the world out. But Malik's gaze felt like it could see through those walls, and Ezra wasn't sure if he hated it or needed it. They moved to the dumbbell racks, mirroring each other's movements. Malik's arm brushed Ezra's as they passed a weight, a fleeting touch that sent Ezra's pulse racing. He cursed himself silently. This was just a workout, nothing more. But when Malik asked him to spot a heavy dumbbell press, standing close enough for their breaths to mingle, Ezra felt the air shift again, electric and heavy. "You're good at this," Malik said after the set, his voice low. "Spotting, I mean. You're steady." Ezra's cheeks warmed. "Just don't want you dropping 80 pounds on your face." Malik laughed, but his eyes held Ezra's a moment too long. "You're not as tough as you act. You know." The words caught Ezra off guard, a blade slipping past his defenses. He wanted to deflect, to joke, but something in Malik's tone stopped him. Instead, he muttered, "Maybe not." They finished their workout in companionable silence, the gym's energy fading as the night deepened. Outside, the Seattle drizzle had turned to a steady rain, and Malik pulled up his hoodie. "Want to grab a coffee or something?" he asked, his voice casual but his eyes hopeful. Ezra hesitated. Coffee wasn't just coffee, not with the way his heart was pounding. But the thought of going back to his empty apartment, alone with his thoughts, felt worse. "Sure," he said finally. "There's a place around the corner." The coffee shop was a warm haven, its windows fogged with steam. They sat at a small table, cups of black coffee between them, and talked. Malik spoke of growing up in Atlanta, of losing his brother to a car accident, of moving to Seattle for a fresh start. Ezra shared less his Idaho roots, his love for art, but each word felt like a brick removed from the wall he'd built. "You don't talk much about yourself," Malik said, stirring his coffee. "Why's that?" Ezra's grip tightened on his mug. "Not much to tell." Malik raised an eyebrow, unconvinced. "I don't buy that. Guy like you. There's a story there." Ezra wanted to change the subject, but Malik's gaze held him, steady and kind. For the first time in years, Ezra felt seen, not judged, not pitted, just seen. It terrified him as much as it thrilled him. As they left the shop, the rain had stopped, leaving the streets glistening under streetlights. Malik turned to him, hands in his pockets. "Same time tomorrow." Ezra nodded, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah." He walked home alone, the city's hum a backdrop to the storm in his chest. Malik was breaking through, and Ezra wasn't sure he could stop either if he wanted to. Ezra couldn't sleep that night. His apartment, a cramped studio in Capitol Hill, felt too small, the walls pressing in as Malik's words echoed in his mind. "Guy like you. There's a story there." He stared at the ceiling, tracing cracks in the plaster, wondering what it would cost to let someone in. The next day at the gym, Malik was already there, warming up with kettlebell swings. His smile was brighter than the Seattle sun, rare and warm, and Ezra felt his resolve waver. They didn't talk much at first, diving into their routine pull-ups, lunges, planks, but the silence was comfortable, like a language they'd already learned. Midway through, Malik suggested a partner workout, something Ezra had never done. "Trust exercise," Malik said with a grin. "You hold the plank. I'll do push-ups over you. Then we switch." Ezra raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like a recipe for someone getting crushed." "Only if you're weak," Malik teased, dropping into a plank. "Come on, don't chicken out." Ezra laughed despite himself and got into position, his core tight as Malik began push-ups above him. Their faces were inches apart, Malik's breath warm against Ezra's cheek. Each rep brought him closer, his chest brushing Ezra's back, and Ezra's focus shattered. He held the plank longer than he thought possible, driven by the need to prove something to Malik, to himself. When they switched, Ezra's arms trembled, not from fatigue, but from the intensity of Malik's gaze. "You're shaking," Malik said softly, his voice free of judgment. "It's the workout," Ezra lied, pushing through another rep. Malik didn't push back, but his silence said he knew better. They finished the set, collapsing onto the mats, breathless and laughing. For a moment, the gym was just them, the world outside irrelevant. After, they sat on a bench, sipping water, shoulders brushing. Malik broke the silence. "You ever feel like you're running from something?" Ezra's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" Malik shrugged, staring at the floor. "Like you're afraid to stop moving. Because if you do, whatever you're avoiding might catch up." Ezra's throat tightened. He thought of his father's voice, his mother's silence, the years spent pretending he was someone he wasn't. "Yeah," he admitted. "Sometimes." Malik nodded, like he'd expected it. Me too. Lost my brother 2 years ago. Been running ever since. Work. Gym. New city keeps the grief at bay. Ezra wanted to say something. Anything. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, he reached out, his hand brushing Malik's arm. A fleeting gesture of comfort. Malik didn't pull away. Instead, he turned, his eyes searching Ezra's, and the air between them thickened with possibility. They left the gym together, the night air cool against their skin. Malik suggested a walk, and they wandered through Pike Place Market. The stalls closed, but the streets alive with buskers and late-night crowds. They talked about everything and nothing. Favorite movies. Worst dates. The way Seattle's rain felt like a promise. Ezra felt himself unraveling, piece by piece, with every step. At a quiet corner, Malik stopped, turning to face him. Ezra, he said, his voice low, I'm gonna be real with you. I like you. More than just a gym buddy. The words hit like a punch, stealing Ezra's breath. He wanted to say he felt the same, that Malik's presence was a light he hadn't known he needed. But fear clawed at him, the old wounds aching. I don't know, he stammered. I'm not good at this. Malik's smile was soft, patient. You don't have to be. Just don't run. Ezra nodded, his chest tight. They parted with a promise to meet again. But as he walked home, Malik's words echoed, don't run. For the first time, Ezra wasn't sure he wanted to. The gym felt different now, like a stage where every glance and touch carried weight. Ezra arrived the next evening, his heart a tangle of hope and dread. Malik was there, warming up with a jump rope, his movements fluid and focused. Ezra watched him for a moment, struck by how easily Malik seemed to exist in his own skin, unapologetic and sure. They didn't talk about last night's conversation, but it hung between them, a silent agreement to keep moving forward. They tackled a grueling circuit piece, kettlebell swings, box jumps, their breath sinking, their laughter a shared rebellion against the burn. But every brush of Malik's hand, every shared smile, felt like a step toward a cliff Ezra wasn't sure he could leap from. After the workout, they sat on the gym's rooftop terrace, the city sprawling below them, lights twinkling against the dusk. Malik leaned back, hands behind his head. You ever think about what you want? Like, really want? Ezra stared at the skyline, the question cutting too close. I don't know. Used to think I wanted to get out of Idaho, make art, live on my own terms. Now I'm here, and it's not enough. Malik nodded, his gaze steady. I get that. I thought moving here would fix things. New city, new me. But you can't outrun yourself. Ezra's chest ached. He wanted to tell Malik everything about the boy he'd loved in high school, the one who'd kissed him in secret then pretended it never happened, about the years of hiding, of feeling like he'd never be enough. But the words stayed locked away. Instead, Malik spoke. I came out when I was 16. My mom was cool. My dad, not so much. Took years to rebuild that. But I decided I wasn't going to hide who I am. Not for anyone. Ezra envied that certainty. How do you do it? Just be yourself. No apologies. Malik shrugged. It's not easy. But pretending's worse. You lose pieces of yourself that way. The words stung, a mirror to Ezra's own life. He'd spent so long pretending, shaping himself to fit others' expectations, that he wasn't sure who he was anymore. But sitting here, with Malik's warmth beside him, he felt a flicker of who he could be. They left the terrace, walking through the city's neon-lit streets. Malik suggested a diner, a 24-hour spot with retro booths and greasy fries. They sat across from each other, sharing a plate of nachos, their knees brushing under the table. Each touch was a question, each glance an answer. Ezra felt himself leaning into it, letting the walls crumble just a little. As they left the diner, Malik stopped under a streetlight, his expression serious. Ezra, I meant what I said last night. I like you. And I think you feel something too. But I'm not going to push you. You got to decide what you want. Ezra's heart pounded, torn between fear and longing. He wanted to reach out, to close the distance, but the weight of his past held him back. I need time, he said finally, his voice barely audible. Malik nodded, his smile tinged with sadness. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. They parted, and Ezra walked home, the city's pulse matching his own. He was standing at a crossroads, and for the first time, he wanted to choose the path that scared him most. Ezra skipped the gym the next day, needing space to think. He spent hours sketching, his pencil tracing Malik's face-strong jaw, warm eyes, that smile that undid him. Each stroke felt like a confession, a step toward admitting what he wanted. But fear lingered, a shadow he couldn't shake. When he returned to the gym the following evening, Malik was there, lifting alone. His face lit up when he saw Ezra, but there was a question in his eyes, a flicker of doubt. Ezra felt a pang of guilt. He'd run, just like Malik had asked him not to. Hey, Ezra said, approaching the bench. Sorry I missed yesterday. Malik set the bar down, his expression guarded. Thought maybe you were ghosting me. Ezra winced. No. Just needed to sort some stuff out. Malik nodded, but the ease between them was strained. They worked out in near silence, the clank of weights filling the space where their banter used to be. Ezra hated it, the distance he'd created, but he didn't know how to bridge it. After, they sat in the locker room, towels draped over their shoulders. Malik broke the silence. Did I push too hard? The other night. Ezra shook his head. It's not you. It's me. I've spent so long keeping people out. I don't know how to let someone in. Malik's eyes softened. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just let me in a little. That's enough. Ezra's throat tightened. He wanted to, more than anything, but the fear of being hurt off, being rejected again was a weight he couldn't lift alone. I'm trying, he said finally. I want to. Malik reached out, his hand resting on Ezra's knee, a quiet anchor. That's enough for now. They left the gym together, the night air crisp and sharp. Malik suggested a hike the next day, a trail outside the city where they could escape the noise. Ezra agreed, desperate for a change, for a chance to be with Malik away from the gym's intensity. The trail was steep, winding through evergreen forests, the air thick with pine and earth. They climbed in silence at first, their breaths visible in the cool morning air. At the summit, they sat on a rocky outcrop, the city a distant shimmer below. Malik pulled out a thermos of coffee, pouring them each a cup, and the simple act felt like a gift. You're different out here, Malik said, sipping his coffee. Less guarded. Ezra laughed softly. Maybe it's the trees. They don't judge. Malik's smile was warm, but his eyes were serious. You don't have to hide from me, Ezra. Whatever you're carrying, I can handle it. Ezra's chest ached. He wanted to believe it, to trust that Malik could see him, all of him, and not turn away. He took a breath, the words spilling out before he could stop them. I came out when I was 17. My dad, he didn't take it well. Said I was a disappointment. I've been trying to prove him wrong ever since. But it's like I'm stuck. Like I'll never be enough. Malik listened, his silence a safe harbor. When Ezra finished, Malik reached for his hand, their fingers intertwining. "You're enough," he said simply. "More than enough." Ezra's eyes burned, but he didn't pull away. For the first time, he let himself believe it. The hike marked a shift. Ezra felt lighter, like he'd shed a layer of armor. He and Malik fell into a new rhythm, meeting at the gym, grabbing coffee, exploring the city. Each moment was a thread, weaving them closer, but Ezra still held back, afraid of what it meant to fully let go. One evening, after a grueling workout, Malik invited Ezra to his apartment for dinner. "Nothing fancy," he said, grinning. "Just pasta and some music." Ezra hesitated, the invitation feeling like a threshold. But he nodded, following Malik to a cozy loft in Belltown, the walls lined with vinyl records and framed photos. Malik cooked while Ezra sat at the counter, watching him move with easy grace, humming to a jazz record spinning in the background. Dinner was simple pasta with marinara, a bottle of cheap red wine, but it felt like a feast. They talked about their dreams, their fears, the lives they wanted to build. Malik spoke of wanting to open a community health clinic, to give back to people like his brother who'd been let down by the system. Ezra admitted he wanted to create art that mattered, that told stories like his own. As they cleared the dishes, Malik's hand brushed Ezra's, and this time, Ezra didn't pull away. He turned, meeting Malik's gaze, and the air between them crackled. Malik stepped closer, his voice low. "Ezra, I'm falling for you. And I think you know it." Ezra's heart pounded, but he didn't run. Instead, he closed the distance, his lips finding Malik's in a kiss that felt like a homecoming. It was soft at first, tentative, then deeper, a release of everything Ezra had held back. Malik's hands cupped his face, grounding him, and for the first time, Ezra felt whole. They pulled back, breathless, foreheads pressed together. "I'm scared," Ezra admitted, his voice trembling. "Me too," Malik said, smiling. "But we'll figure it out together." They spent the night talking, laughing, stealing kisses between words. But as Ezra left, doubt crept in. What if this was too good to last? What if he wasn't enough? The old fears whispered, louder now, threatening to pull him under. The next day, Ezra's phone buzzed with a text from his sister. "Lila, back in Idaho. Dad's sick. He's asking for you." The words hit like a punch, dragging up memories Ezra had tried to bury. He hadn't spoken to his father in years, not since the fight that drove him to Seattle. The thought of facing him now, with Malik in his life, felt like a storm he wasn't ready for. He met Malik at the gym that evening, his mood heavy. Malik noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" Ezra told him about the text, the weight of his past spilling out. Malik listened, his hand steady on Ezra's shoulder. "You don't have to go," he said. "But if you do, you don't have to go alone." Ezra's eyes widened. "You'd come with me." "If you want me to," Malik said simply. The offer was a lifeline, but it also terrified Ezra. Bringing Malik home meant facing his past head-on, with no walls to hide behind. He wasn't sure he was ready, but he knew he didn't want to face it without Malik. The drive to Idaho was quiet, the landscape blurring past as Ezra gripped the wheel. Malik sat beside him, his presence a steady calm against Ezra's churning thoughts. They'd packed light, just a weekend bag, but the weight of what lay ahead felt heavier than any barbell. Ezra's hometown hadn't changed, same dusty streets, same weathered houses, same church steeple looming over it all. His father's house was at the edge of town, a squat ranch-style home that held too many memories. Ezra's stomach twisted as they pulled up, Malik's hand squeezing his knee. "You got this," Malik said, his voice firm. And I've got you. Inside, Ezra's sister, Lila, greeted them, her eyes widening at Malik. You brought a friend, she said, her tone curious but kind. More than a friend, Ezra said, the words slipping out before he could stop them. Lila's smile was small but genuine, and Ezra felt a flicker of hope. His father, Tom, was in the living room, thinner than Ezra remembered, his face lined with pain. The cancer had taken its toll, but his eyes were still sharp, still piercing. Ezra, he said, his voice rough. Didn't think you'd come. Ezra swallowed hard. Lila said you wanted to see me. Tom nodded, glancing at Malik. Who's this? Malik, Ezra said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. My boyfriend. The word hung in the air, a challenge and a truth. Tom's jaw tightened, but he didn't look away. Malik stood close, his warmth a shield against the past. They sat, the conversation stilted at first talk of the weather, the town, anything but the years of silence. But as the hours passed, Tom softened, his questions turning to Ezra's life in Seattle, his art, his dreams. I was wrong, Tom said finally, his voice breaking. Back then, I didn't understand. I thought I was protecting you. But I hurt you. Ezra's eyes burned, the apology he'd never expected cutting deep. I needed you to see me, he said. Not what you wanted me to be. Tom nodded, tears in his eyes. I see you now. They talked late into the night, rebuilding something fragile but real. Malik was quiet, letting Ezra lead, but his presence was a constant, a reminder that Ezra wasn't alone. When they left the next day, Ezra felt lighter, like he'd left a piece of his pain behind. Back in Seattle, they stood on the gym's rooftop, the city alive below them. Malik took Ezra's hand, their fingers intertwining. You were brave back there, he said. Ezra shook his head. I was terrified. But you were there. That made it possible. Malik smiled, pulling him close. We're stronger together. Ezra leaned into him, the city's lights blurring through his tears. For the first time, he believed he was enough not just for Malik, but for himself. The gym, where it all began, was no longer just a place to lift weights. It was where Ezra had found the strength to love, to heal, to be whole.